Hello, welcome back to Adventures Edge, Tellus More number 2. This is Don, and with me in the studio I have Rochelle.
Hello. I can't introduce myself.
Oh,
That is a thing that can happen.
well, sure, I suppose we could try that. Take
Okay.
2. Introduce yourself then.
Well, you could say, and joining me today.
And joining me today,
Hi, it's Rochelle.
and I'm not going to edit any of that out.
Okay, that's great.
So,
as again, nothing we do apparently is ever scripted. We're just all sitting around winging everything.
well, yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have some crib notes here.
No, I have no crib notes.
So tell us more is our companion show to the main feed, Heroes of the Veil, which presumably you are listening to and are at least intrigued a little bit to hear more about the world. So in this episode, it is just Rochelle and I, and going forward, it will normally be either myself and whoever I can
Con into joining him.
me, or just myself talking with myself about the world, which will be riveting material, much like this episode is going to be. So the point of the Tell Us More is to provide information actually about the world of Tellus and to answer questions that you might have for your either own use or just out of curiosity. So at the time of this recording, we do not yet have any questions, but I asked, I know, sad face, I asked Rochelle to join us for this because you have been integral to the development of the world of Tellus.
Yes, I have been. I have been here since the beginning of Tellus. I have gotten to hear all of the birth pains of Tellus.
Since the dawn of time.
Something like that. Yeah.
So Rochelle is my sounding board, and she has incredible patience, but she is also very insightful and very creative and has provided a lot of guidance in my world development.
The part he's leaving out is that I am also mean. And when there's something that he says that I don't like, I tell him that I do not like it.
Shane does not mince words. Yeah, we're a good pair. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the some of the foundational stuff about the world and see what we can cover, in the next 25 minutes or so to see what kind of comes up. I have a list of topics that I thought would be appropriate. I did ask you if you had any questions, and you didn't seem like you specifically had some.
I feel like I actually have a pretty good grasp on your view of Tellus, and I still have a different view of Tellus in some respects. And yeah, I mean, it's your world, and you are the final arbiter, and your word is law, and I still disagree.
In this one facet of our relationship, my word is law.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Tellus is a disc world. So if you remember when we first started talking and I pitched the disc world, I don't remember what your first thoughts were on that at this point. Because I started this, gosh, I mean, it's been like a year and a half ago.
At least. So, okay, here's a question for you. I still don't understand why you were like, I want it to be a disc world. Like, is this appropriate for this
Sure.
forum? Do you want to talk about
No,
that?
absolutely. Okay. When I was workshopping this, I literally started making like lists of concepts, and I wanted to really lean in hard to some of the fantasy tropes. And I like the idea of a disc world just because it is so zany and unusual and difficult to explain. And there's some great disc worlds, in fantasy fiction. But I also, because I really want to focus on, reality and verisimilitude, I thought just having this backdrop of this, crazy construct that it seemed like a good balance to all the other stuff I was going to go for. And it seemed like a fun idea.
Hmm. So no good logical reason.
I mean, is there really any logic to designing something? It's like you just kind of start going with what sounds intriguing to you. I mean, when I was brainstorming, and I was like, I really took inspiration from, a host of movies that what I would watch. Um, Thinking about, oh gosh, I should have made like a list of ones. But where the ship's sailing off the edge of the world, is it the Lost Viking? What is that one? Or is that Time Bandits? Those are some really old ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just said the image of the ship kind of sailing off the edge of the world and going into this like.
But that can't happen in your world.
Well, no, but some of the imagery of that was inspiration.
I see.
Some of these like early formative fantasy movies, were definitely part of the creative process to develop this world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the short answer is it's a disc world because, cool.
Sometimes you really need any other reason than it just sounds fun.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Fine. I don't know. I couldn't think of any other disc worlds in mainstream tabletop role playing.
Okay.
And there might be one. I didn't actually go thinking about it.
You didn't search it out?
I didn't search it out, but I couldn't think of one. So if you as a listener are like, oh yeah, this so-and-so supplement covered that, I am intrigued. Definitely email me at don@adventuresedgerpg.com because I would love to read about that to see how other people tackled it. There is also kind of one other facet to that. And it really is the flat earthers.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I mean, because it's a thing. And
yes, it is. Absolutely.
Apparently, I don't know. I don't think I totally understand that. I still haven't figured out if it's just people gaslighting everybody else.
No, it's not people gaslighting. Do I think there are some people that are like going along with it just because, haha, funny, whatever? But no, I think there are legitimately people that are like, yes, flat earth. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is so far beyond my ability to comprehend it. So that embracing what that would look like in real life, in fantasy life, what was part of it too. So that was one thing that had crossed my mind. Well, what if that was the case? And then I went down that rabbit hole hard in trying to then make everything actually, quote unquote, work with a flat earth. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So very meta.
Yeah, a lot of meta to it. So, there's probably, I don't want to talk like for 30 minutes about like the physical design of the world, but like I said, it's 12,000 miles across. So it's a reasonably good sized world. It is double-sided, and nobody in the game world knows what's on the other side. I, as the world's creator, am not entirely sure what's on the other side yet.
Ooh, I can't believe you admitted that.
I really wanted to, because I'm going to be talking about like game design in my behind the screen. And I think it's important to leave gaps as you design. Like if I sit down and I scribbled everything out, it doesn't really leave room to breathe. Like I have a lot of interesting ideas, and I have settled, I think, on a very short list.
Okay, but you haven't fully committed.
Like
to what's
I
on the other
haven't
side.
committed,
Okay.
and I'm open to that changing. But I also am currently like, you know what? Right now, it doesn't matter, and I don't know that it ever will matter. We'd have to really play in this world for a long time.
Ever get over there.
Yeah.
Well, or at some point, maybe we just like, well, okay, that's kind of, I mean, there's nothing to say that there couldn't be just another adventure on the other side of the world of a whole other group of individuals that know nothing about our current side of the world.
That's true.
I mean, it could just be a whole thing.
we have this disk world that is quite thick, and
How thick? Do we know how thick?
um,
Oh, you don't even know how thick.
I wrote some numbers down.
Oh,
I do have some numbers.
all we know is she thick.
She thick, but it's at least like 100 miles thick.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like thousands of miles,
Hmm.
but it's still pretty thick.
So we don't use the metric system here.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting point. I actually have been developing other measurements based upon. There's a lot of ways we can tangent this, but that's why in the game I've been using terms like league and pace and rods and chains. I was really kind of going back to like either late Roman and kind of early, early medieval. There's a lot of different measurements, but yeah, the reality is, sorry, we're Americans, and when I think in feet, and it is kind of sad. I wish we were meters.
I mean, change can begin with you. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so it is thick.
It's okay.
And flowing along the edge of the disc. Oh, so the disc revolves clockwise. Flowing along the edge of the disc counterclockwise is a torrential river called the Real Stream. And the Real Stream is made up of it's water, but I'm calling it elemental water. It has unusual properties that can be destructive to ships. Like you can't just go sailing out onto this thing without preparation. But it acts as a barrier, either via the nature of the water itself or the mechanics of the world or just the magic that's imbued to act as this barrier between the oceans on either side.
So I think that you should explain what you mean by elemental water.
That concept has its kind of roots in Greek mythology where there's like the four elements, but there's like the idea where like regular fire, has all the properties of fire that but then there's like elemental fire, which it's like imbued with magic in a way. And one of the game systems I played for like 3 decades, which is Rollmaster, there was a whole bit on elemental magic and how there were the elements and then the elemental versions of them, which had like this proto-elemental material in it that was basically acidic to everything else that would come into contact with it. So that's kind of what I'm going with. I don't think that is something that like most people would fully understand. That's something like in the realm of alchemists and powerful wizards that would like elemental water has this unusual property, like non-magical creatures can't survive in it, and that it can it will have disastrous effects on natural materials not protected against the nature of it.
So what would happen if a non-magical being drank elemental water? Would it kill him?
So I haven't codified that in this world. So leaning on some of the things that I've used in other game systems, like specifically Rollmaster, there was a table for that where you would have elemental corruption, and that your body could actually like start to get absorbed by it, and actually might like transform part of your physical being like into elemental material, which generally would result in your demise.
Mm.
Yeah, there were some horrific charts for elemental poisoning.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm not sure if we'll get to that.
It could be interesting. Like maybe it's a bad thing or maybe it's a good thing, and it kind of depends upon the individual. Like maybe some people risk like interacting with elemental water or elemental air or elemental fire or whatever because it's a way to become more powerful? It's like one of the ultimate risks.
I would imagine that that is the case, actually, because I am going to introduce the idea that harvesting these the elemental, like pure elemental material, can be used for magical experiments, specifically like to create force, create combustion, like combining elemental fire and elemental water. Because in the world there's no gunpowder, but I do have this idea that there are some societies that have discovered that you take a drop of elemental fire and a drop of elemental water and combine them to create concussive force, and then what that could look like. So that's still something that's sort of on the peripheral of like full development and how that could really impact the world. But that is definitely something I'm playing with.
Okay, sorry. So that was down a rabbit hole. So we've got the real stream.
We got the real stream.
It's spinning in the opposite direction. It's not impassable, but pretty much. Very, so difficult to pass that for most it's like, yeah, that's impassable, right?
Right. For as far as common knowledge goes, any ships that have tried to cross the real stream have not returned.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and we don't, as far as we know, they were destroyed, but it's possible one of them made it to the other side.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know.
And they're like, wow, it's so great over here.
And they just never came back.
Why would we ever go back?
Yeah. Heck with those.
Yeah.
Turkeys.
Okay.
So we got that. So is it like just normal water all the way up to the real stream?
Yes. So there are oceans. The oceans, I went with saltwater oceans largely for familiarity.
Okay.
I had considered, like, what does an entire freshwater world look like? And I don't think I ever really got some good answers for that. Like, what are the ramifications on global ecology? Like, does it, when you're mucking with so much of reality, it's like, well, we'll stick with that. So yeah, we've got saltwater oceans,
Okay.
freshwater streams, and lakes and stuff.
Okay. So the water cycle as we know it is relatively intact.
Yes.
Okay. And there are moons.
There are moons.
Tell me about the moons.
Well, there are 2 moons. And they are on 2 different. So there is the main moon. The slightly larger moon is called Lunus, and it is white, and that is, as far as people know, where the Celestials retired to after some of the great wars at the beginning, like the early times of the world. And so the key difference between like Lunus and like our moon is that it's not pockmarked with meteor impacts, and it actually glows on its own accord. It doesn't just reflect light. So the moon is comprised of this moonstone material that was harvested by the Celestials. We haven't got to this part, but there's this whole highway that cuts across Galtia that's crafted from moonstone, and it glows like dimly at night for travel.
Okay.
That's a whole thing. So the moon actually does radiate light.
So when I look at Lunus, can I see where material has been harvested from it?
That's an interesting question. Possibly.
Like, did the Celestials leave a little smiley face on the surface?
I did think that with telescopes that you could possibly see celestial cities. That was something that I kind of
On the
toyed
moon's
with.
surface?
I was thinking about that. Like, what are the ramifications of that? I mean, because they're living there. Like
Oh.
that's an established like belief. And one of those things where we talk about what's belief and what's myth, but in a world of magic, I like thinking about how you guys get to play your characters and what you believe. I think it's important that you have some degree of meta knowledge that, yeah, we believe this, but there's reasons we believe this. And here's the actual evidence for it being true. And yeah, there's people with powerful telescopes, and you can sort of make out like cities on the moon.
Hmm.
Because it'd be awesome to go there, but nobody knows how to get there.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's one of those things. I don't think there's any powerful enough telescopes to really get fine details. But I mean, we can make out, here in our modern times with our modern telescopes, really amazing details of the moon. So I'm thinking the telescopes aren't as advanced as, the present day, but yeah, you can see some stuff up there.
Okay. What about the other? Tell me about the other moon. The red moon.
The red moon. So the red moon is Karos, Karos.
Mm-hmm.
And it has like an elliptical orbit, and it is, well, actually both moons do have an elliptical orbit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that way we do have these different not interactions. I can't think of this. I was going to say seasons, but that's not right. So like some moons are going to be, one will be closer, one will be farther away at different times.
Okay.
So there's the idea. And I have this entire chart what I mapped out like cycles of the moons and how long that takes and how often they, cross paths and whatever, just because I'm a nerd. But yeah, so the red moon also has the kind of, I'm imagining like it looks a bit like coloration like Mars, but it also has its own glow. And it has a stigma. Like there's this stigma of like bad luck, like the red moon rising.
Yeah, that's why there's those songs about it.
Well, there is, and there's reasons for it in our world, like the real world, right? But in here, it's the idea that the mythology, and this is where I'm not going to release whether or not it is true, in a definitive sense, but people believe from stories that there is one of the early gods that got locked up in it, like there was this dark god, and he's imprisoned inside of Karos.
Do we know what god?
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. We might have to get in. I will see. So yes, there's a dark god locked up in Karos, and that he has a very limited influence on the world. And so
because he's locked up.
Because he's locked up.
Oh.
Yeah. But when the moon is closest, like he can sort of like
we can feel the effects of the
dark
god.
There's this dark god, and like maybe bad things happen.
What's his name?
Oh, now you're gonna make me look. Okay, so the
dark. Oh, you don't just know his name? I feel a red moon rising. Oh, it's I see. I see a red moon rising. I feel the dark god.
Okay. Axios.
Axios on the wind. Better stay home tonight. I don't know. That's all I got. But we could do we should have our bard write something up. It's the red moon song. It's the song of Karos.
I'm kind of digging that. I like it. And we can release a track.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bardic music for playing in the world of Tellus.
Yeah. I'll play the finger cymbals.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So what else do we want to know? So we have a flat Earth. We have some continents. And I have a pretty lengthy, history of all the different struggles with the gods and why the continents exist the way they do.
So why does it spin? What's it spin on?
It spins in space, and it spins because the progenitor, the mainspring, the original creator made it thus and set it in space, spun it like a top in the cosmic ether, and it has continued to spin indefinitely. But not all elements of the world were autonomous. And so there are things that are maintained like a giant machine in a way.
So is there not like a sun?
Oh, yeah. There's a sun.
Okay. So what's the sun?
The sun is
Called
Cyrus.
the sun. Oh, wait.
No,
Cyrus?
Cyrus. Cyrus.
Okay.
And so Cyrus is the belief is that it's comprised entirely of elemental fire. Like it's the equivalent of the plane of fire in your fantasy setting of choice.
Okay. And
so in my setting, because I have absolutely lifted material from everywhere else as points of inspiration, is that Cyrus is the home of the Jinn.
Oh.
And I absolutely have a city of brass on Cyrus.
Oh.
Yeah, because that is just so cool.
So is Cyrus a ball or is it?
It is a ball.
So we've got the moons that are slightly the moons are balls?
They are balls.
And the sun is a ball.
It is.
But the world
is flat.
Is flat.
Yeah.
Because they were all just created.
Right.
None of this happened naturally. It was all just like
no. There's nothing natural about even the universe that this sits in.
Okay. And it was all created by the progenitor.
Right.
Okay.
And the other thing to know about like the local cosmology is that like Cyrus is like not infinitely, but exponentially smaller than our sun because it has a much like it's smaller than the world itself.
Oh.
But it has a very tight rotation.
Okay.
So
it's much closer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's part of that. What part of my original inspiration was some Greek mythology. The idea that there was the flaming chariot kind of going across the sky.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not a flaming chariot, but the idea is that it is much closer, and that has a distinct impact on where the sun appears in the sky, because the sun is on a fixed rotation, and the Tellus revolves around, below that, so that the revolution is always different in relation to where the sun is passing, and that's how you have seasons.
Except for the middle.
Except for the middle, which is yes, the very center of the disk, which is the omphalos, which is believed to be like the home of the gods, is this impassable region that people try to get to. But near that spot, there is a chain of isles called the Summer Isles that basically is in perpetual light. Well, not perpetual light, but perpetual summer. Yeah, perpetual summer.
Always warm and
yeah.
All right.
So they're, in my mind, probably a bit like the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about like trade and export and things like that, like I haven't mapped out like global exports, but I'm imagining that Gaultier gets equivalent exports like we would get from the Caribbean, from the Summer Isles.
So lots of like shiny, happy people in like flowy robes and like carefree lifestyles and like booming trade and everything's awesome.
Possibly. Or depending on the time period, or maybe like rampant piracy too,
I like the nice idea better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
All right.
So let's see. If you're actually interested in like looking at a GM's obsession over world building, there's stuff out on the website where you can actually see where I've created images of the world in rotation with the relative position of the moons and things like that. That's really not for like player enjoyment necessarily. It's for me to be able to like describe the world in process and then to try to be able to answer questions about that. This is kind of me taking it like to the next level in my world building. That's stuff I'm going to talk about in my world building podcast, the behind the screen stuff. I'll probably get into that, like what's important, what's not, what you do for yourself, and what you're doing for your players. Because I think it's, at the end of the day, it's important that you enjoy what you're doing, because not everybody else is going to appreciate it. And I've accepted that a long time ago. So there's climate bands, there's tides. There's calendar with unique months and days.
Yeah, which is, your calendar. Do we want to talk about the calendar, or just if people are interested in your calendar, they can look at your calendar?
I mean, I'm not going to read off all the months. The key thing is there are 24 months. And it's basically, because the world takes 2 years to do a full revolution. Right? So
Not a revolution, rotation.
Rotation.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, full rotation. And so because the sun basically bisects the world in a fixed orbit, where the sun appears in the sky is different across 24 months, because for 12 months, the sun is in the north sky, and for 12 months, it's in the southern sky.
So we have much longer seasons.
No.
What do you mean, no? If we've got if a year is 24 months.
Well, so a year, it's basically the equivalent of 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's still functionally like 1 year and then 1 year. But the reason it's a 24-month calendar, then that 24 months, you've got 2 summers, 2 falls, 2 springs, 2 winters. But you are in a different position on relation to with the sun and the moon. So if you're looking at the top, like top down, 1 year, like you say Galtia, you're going to be on the south side of your perspective, and the other year, if you were just like rotating on the table, it'd be upside down. You'd be on the north side, and so the sun has a different
angle.
Yeah. And because you can identify that the sky looks different because you're revolving or rotating. That's why you have 24 months.
So we're all going to be going, oh, it looks like second fall.
Exactly.
Oh,
and so I named,
it's time for second summer.
That's exactly it. No, 100%. And so I named all 24 months.
Why can't we just have, it's second? I don't know what the months are. I know you've got calendars. I haven't looked at that. Okay.
I mean, it's like harvest moon, day fade, frost fall, snow spell, day rise.
Here they are.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Why can't it just be, it's second frost fall?
You could.
No, you had to go and get fancy and name. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is like these months and calendar, at least in my mind, are what the dwarfs created. Because not everybody would use the same terminology because we don't have globalization. And that was something I haven't really fleshed out. Like the whole world wouldn't call the 9th month high sun. Because, yeah, anyway. All right. I think that's probably getting a little too deep, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when he's talking about like there's parts that he does just for himself, and yeah, he knows that because my eyes start glazing over. I'm like, okay, I'm done now.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I don't know what the percentage is. I think most people probably don't really want to go that deep. Like it's just like, hey, I just want to go, kill goblins. And I think that's okay. And I don't know. I think most GMs probably don't go that deep either. But I think there are some who just enjoy the aspects of world building and really kind of explore the conceptual stuff and just spend hours on it. And that's always been something for me. That's just like, well, I enjoy this. It's my,
It's your leisure.
yeah, it is. It is definitely my leisure.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's if you're looking at Nash's hierarchy, it's creative participation, which is, according to Nash, the highest form of leisure. So congratulations.
Cool. Thanks. So I don't know. I think that covers enough for one episode, thinking about what people want to sit through and listen to if you hear us talk about this. So you probably have a little bit better idea. Again, there's pictures and stuff on the website. And if you have questions, I've fleshed out a lot, but I mean, trying to actually build an entire world from scratch, it takes a lot of time, and there's plenty of places that I'm not even going to really even get to yet because I'm really focusing. It is that start small as far as like the campaign goes. So I really heavily focused on building the town, building the Vale, and kind of fleshing out the duchy and working out because there's tremendous amounts of things I would like to write about. And I think it would be cool if we, started really getting people excited about this world to have people who enjoy writing to create like, hey, I'd like to write about this other duchy or something to do with the dwarves or something, just to maybe do some creative world building. I think that could be fun. So, anything else that you think that we've...
Not in this one. I think that, like I would really like to talk about, the gods and all of that, but I think that needs to be a separate episode.
Okay. Well, let's make episode 3 the divinity one.
All right.
We'll dive into the divinity and some creation myths and stuff like that.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, and I was hoping to get a good 30 minutes, so we're a little bit over that. So I think that's good.
My apologies.
It's fine. We're all good here. I thought an hour would probably be too much.
I'm just joking. Like that was just, okay. All right. Well,
all right.
Thanks for listening if you did listen this long.
There's people out there like, I could play this for my little kids and they'll just like drift off to sleep.
Oh, it's so boring and relaxing. I can't wait. Okay.
ASMR world building with Don and Rochelle.
All right.
Okay. Well, we will talk soon.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.